Hello and welcome to the Tachiai podcast for the Haru Basho Banzuke. We have myself in the great state of Texas. Joining me is Andy. Hello, Andy.
Hey, Bruce.
And our man in foreign lands has joined us once again. It's Josh. Say hello, Josh.
Konnichiwa.
Yep. And so we're going to talk about this guy. This is the Banzuke. I actually have one this time. I made a point to get one early because this one is one of the more unusual Banzukes that are going to come out. And not least of all because of that. That is a Yokozuna-Ozeki. Right? Tradition holds that you need to have at least 2 Ozeki in order to conduct Hanbasho. And with Goeido's exit from the sport shortly following a really disastrous performance at Hatsu, we get one of the Yokozuna who has to fill in the Ozeki role for the West, and it's none other than Yokozuna Kakuryu. A weird-ass basho to be certain. Andy, any comments right off the top?
Oh, I mean, this one is going to be really, really interesting to see because there are just so many question marks around everybody.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm really feeling for Goeido. I had hoped that he would be able to make another presence at his home basho. So I'll be a little bit sad about that. But with all of the, I don't know, the weirdness around this one, it's probably good that he's kind of... He's in Oyakata now.
So, Josh, all the way down to Maegashira 18 now because Sanyako is so light. And none other than that, we got Koto-no-waka to show up in the top division. Thoughts about that?
Well, I'm a big fan of Koto-no-waka.
I know, that's why I called on you, sir.
Do ranks matter anymore? Do they matter? I don't think they matter. Because it's anything can happen. You know, anything can happen. I mean, look, let me throw a name at you. Here's someone I think is going to be profoundly impacted by this basho, maybe more than anybody else. Teratsu Yoshi. What happens when you throw a kilogram of salt and no one's there to see it? Okay? like, how does that impact his ritual when he gets into the dojo?
Well, no, you raise a very good point. Given the sort of cultural aspect of throwing the salt and given the nature of this basho with no spectators, is everyone going to be chucking a basket of salt every stinking time?
Would love that. It's like, come on, like Koto Shogiku, bring back the back bend. Koto Yuki, if he's going to come around, like he does his thing. Takayasu, get the gorilla. Like, it's all going to be like so much loud, you know, like we'll be able to hear so much more of it and do it for TV. Come on.
Please make a show out of it because nobody gets to go this time. So, right. So the big thing is that, and you can never quite believe the training and workup. The training and workup looks like it's going very well so far. Both of the Yokozuna look like they might actually be able to compete. Any thoughts, Andy, really about the Yokozuna? I mean, we've got both of them sort of on the sort of sunset path of their career. You've got Hakuho, who's on Twitter showing his lovely Japanese passport now, sort of underlining that he's got Japanese citizenship and he can be an Oyakata. What are your thoughts on the subject, Andy?
Oh, they're both going to finish, and it'll be very interesting to see them in the final weekend. I'm really hopeful that both of them will be in Yusho contention.
That would be great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm eager to see the fact that the past few weeks have been rather restful or relaxful. It doesn't really seem none of them would have been involved in any of the Yusho celebrations that Tokusharyu had. So, I mean, Tokusharyu will be a little possibly hungover, but Hakuho and Kakuryu will, I'm gunning for them to both be in contention in the final weekend.
Oh, okay. So you brought up Tokusharyu. Josh, all right, so he's at Maegashira 2 from the bottom of the Banzuke after this Cinderella story win. Does anyone seriously have any expectations that this lovable old guy who managed to lift the Emperor's Cup is going to do anything other than crater at this rank?
No. But on the other hand, you know, we looked at it last time before the tournament and we all said, wow, he was so fortunate to have even been promoted to Maegashira 17 because he had, you know, an 8 and 7 in Juryo and was considered to be a little bit of an edge case for that promotion, and then he turns around and wins the Yusho. So why make predictions?
Yes, the signs and portents were clear that weird crap was breaking out in 2020 from the start. It's true.
Yeah. So now Maegashira 18, it's really on Koto-no-waka to turn around and prevent.
All right. If Koto-no-waka shows this time, I don't know what I'm going to do, but it's going to be drastic and it will be on film. So let me turn around, because I know for a fact that you've been a real follower of Takakeisho for a long time. He's the lone surviving Ozeki right now. What do you think is really? I mean, he's faded out a little bit as far as his pushing thrusting after he had that pectoral muscle. That the tear wasn't as bad as what we saw with Kisuna Sato, but he's definitely not necessarily at full strength. But with the Yokozuna maybe on the exit path, everyone's going, okay, can we turn this guy into a Yokozuna at some point down the road? Your thoughts about Takakeisho now?
Oh, me?
Yeah, it's you, Josh. Sorry.
Sure
too rambling, Bruce. Get to the point. Go for it, Josh.
No, all good. Look, I think most people didn't really consider a Takakeisho to be a Yokozuna contender.
Yeah. And
now he's in this position where you have this really depleted Sanyaku situation. There's no other Ozeki. You have unreliable at best Yokozuna. As I wrote on the site, I think the most important thing for Takakeisho is to just be consistent, to be consistently challenging at the thick end of that Yusho Arasoi, and always be in contention and be a reliable Ozeki, because it's been, again, not to be a downer, but it's been 4 years since we've had a good Ozeki. And that was Kiseno Sato, who I think is the greatest Ozeki, certainly of modern times. And so I think that job one really right now for sumo and for all those guys coming up, that next wave, is to just, let's replenish that rank and let's get guys in there who can do justice to that rank. And so, everything over 10 wins for Takakeisho is always gravy. I want to see him in the thick of it, in the challenge, doing meaningful bouts at the end of the second week and staying as healthy as he possibly can. There's been question marks over his health. So, let's just see how he can turn up. But if he can get 10, 11, 12 each time and contend for the odd Yusho here and there, I think that's a great year for him and a great goal for 2020.
So speaking of replenishing the ranks, folks are already rumbling in various sumo fan communities about Asanoyama and the potential that he has for attaining Ozeki rank. And in fact, we sort of thrashed it around on the blog about what is it going to take to actually make that mark. And there's quite a divide in the sumo fan community. Clearly, he's been fighting well. But Andy, what are your thoughts on Asanoyama and the possibility of replenishing the Ozeki ranks?
Oh, I'm really looking forward to this one, because I do think that he will be promoted this summer. I'm kind of 50-50 about whether it's going to be this tournament, but there's just so few real, I don't know, competitors up there that it should be easy for him and even Shodai to make it up there.
Shodai.
Well, I think that we're going to be able to see some consistency from them, because so many of the Joijin are over promoted mid Maegashira and lower wrestlers.
Oh dear Lord!
They basically just kind of benefit from the fact that we've got such a void. I mean, Takayasu, I'm not necessarily sure. Well, I'm not sure how much longer Takayasu is going to be able to hang out around there in the Joijin if he's going to fall down like Tochino Shin. I mean, I think that Asanoyama has an excellent opportunity in front of him, and to Josh's point about 10 wins for Takakeisho, that's, I think, a very, very makeable goal this time around. Just seeing the weakness up there, only 7 Sanyaku, that's it, and Endo is one of them who just had elbow surgery. So I think we will be able to get a new Ozeki very soon. It will be Asanoyama. And how many of them? I think there are a couple of good candidates up there.
Okay, so who's your good candidates, Andy?
Should I? Hokutofuji.
Josh, if you had to handicap who might be in Ozeki contention during this year to replenish those ranks, who would you name?
Yeah, well, far be it from me to critique any of Andy's predictions because I all room for a Tamawashi Yusho parade. Certainly Asanoyama. I agree with Andy that Asanoyama will be the next Ozeki. Whether it happens after this tournament or the next one, we'll see. But I think by Nagoya, the Nagoya tournament, I think he will be an Ozeki, barring something crazy. The pick behind that, I'd say Hokutofuji, I agree, is someone who you'd say has an outside chance for Ozeki promotion this year. If he doesn't have a calamitous tournament or an injury. His Hatsu tournament was really solid. He had a really high number of victories, 11 victories, but a high number of victories over quality opponents. If both Yokozuna enter and stay in the tournament this time, it'll be interesting to see when he gets paired with them. For Komusubi, usually it's quite early, but there's only 3 Rikishi ranked between the Komusubi and the Yokozuna now. So it may be that they end up being paired up a little bit later than usual. So if Hokutofuji can get another 10 wins this time, I think it'd be very intriguing. And if you look back at his career, he's been remarkably consistent since the start of his career, apart from this sort of crazy 3 Basho streak where he was pretty badly injured in early 2018. So apart from all that, he's been a real model of consistency. And I would actually say that in terms of projection, that style, assume that heavy Oshizumo style, I like his chances to go a little bit further career-wise than Takakeisho. But given where Takakeisho is right now, there's only one spot further you can go.
Yep. Okay. So Andy, anyone else in the Joijin really catch your eye? I mean, we've got Enho now up at Maegashira 4.
Well, I'm actually paying more attention to Mitakeumi.
Yeah.
I'm really eager to see. Basically, there are 4 guys that this tournament I think will be pretty telling about their condition. And Mitakeumi is one of them. Takayasu is another. But I'm particularly interested in Tochinoshin and Ikioi as well. To see where they are just in their recovery how many more tournaments does Tochinoshin or Gagamaru really have in them? Gagamaru is pretty far down in the Makushita now, and I'm hopeful that their love of sumo will keep them in it for quite a bit longer. But I do have that interview with Tochinoshin where he's basically pointing it to his knee as well. That's going to be what determines how long he's still around.
Yep.
But for Mitakeumi, since his little Ozeki run and the injury, like he has not really been as big of a force. And I'm very hopeful to see some sort of a recovery and I don't know. I want to see a bounce back from him this year. I want to see him in contention again this year. But I'm
you don't think
very
his health problems are going to shut that down?
Sorry?
You don't think his health problems will prevent that?
Well, that's the thing. I don't know really where he is with that.
Okay.
I think that his health problems and his injury may keep him to being a really, really good Maegashira, but with just such depleted ranks up in the Sanyaku, he may be able to spark something this year.
So Josh, if you look down at the Banzuke, who's catching your eye right now as far as possible breakout Basho who might be ranked too high? Who do we think we might be talking about on the middle day?
Couple of Ks I like Kirabayama, someone I'm really intrigued by. He's only 23, but he's got a lot in his locker in terms of his technique. When you look at his history, he's had a mix of his really brilliant and really disappointing tournaments, certainly in the Makushita division. He He was down there for a while. Like I said, he's only 23 right now, though. But, he'd have these outstanding performances before he came up to the salaried ranks. He was 6 wins or a Yusho, and you think he's really going to push on and become a star. And he follows that up with these middling results, and he had injury issues. So when you take that into account, for him to reach the middle of the top division a year from him becoming a Sekitori, I think it's a great accomplishment, and hopefully he can push on from there. The second name I'd bring up is Koto-no-waka, as we mentioned before. You can say, again, like Tokusharyu last time, he's had some Banzuke luck in terms of coming up from Juryo to make his debut in the top division. And, what price another Yusho from the bottom of the division of Maegashira 18. But, for me, I think clearly he's a superstar in waiting. He was a very, very hyped prospect who, again, had very mixed results upon reaching the third division, Makushita, for a while. But he's very powerful. He doesn't have exactly the same build as his father, who is his stable master and also went under the same Shikona. But he does have a lot of upper body strength and that similar kind of top-heavy stature that his dad has. And I think the fact that he's already stated that he will take his grandfather, Koto Zakura's Shikona, when he becomes Ozeki, not if, probably tells you what you need to know about his ambitions. So
keep
for me,
for the stars,
18,
kid.
Oh, it's amazing. And I'd be shocked to see a Makekoshi from him this tournament. You look at all the names that are around him on the Banzuke, it's a lot of uninspiring names on the dance card, and there are a lot of guys that are in that list that he's already beaten. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yep. Okay, well, that takes us to the point where we're going to say thanks for sticking with us through this Banzuke podcast. There'll be more from us coming up before the tournament starts. Thank you very much, Josh. Thank you very much, Andy. And remember, fans, for Sumo, it's Tachiai.